We have a special guest on the phone, your father.
Oh,
Senator John McCain, maybe the most frequent
Larry,
guest
how are
ever.
you?
Maybe our most frequent guest on the old Larry King Live. It's a great pleasure to have him join us. You were in that spotlight 4 years ago. What did you make of tonight, John?
I think if it was a fight, they would have stopped it. I think Romney knocked him out of the ring. I really do. And obviously I'm very biased, but it seemed clearly the president was off his game. And by the way, I was listening to that conversation. There have been a couple of times where the president has looked very poor, and the best example, I think, was the first Reagan-Mondale debate, as you remember, and he had to come back in the second debate. But Going into this, I think that, one of the things that surprised me, among other things, was when Mitt kept saying, you cut $761 billion out of Medicare. And Obama had no response for that. And you know why he didn't? Is because they did. I had the First Amendment on Obamacare when we were debating it to restore the funds that they cut out of Medicare to pay for Obamacare. And that's really, I think, maybe one of the first time, one of the real liabilities that Mitt has had in this campaign is Medicare with seniors. I think that might have changed things quite a bit there, because it's obviously a very big issue with seniors.
Senator, you said you thought Obama was off his game. In what way?
Well, first of all, I think his answers were complicated. As you already talked about, he was 4 minutes longer than Mitt was. I'm not sure that he conveyed a big picture on things, and I also think that this people really don't understand some of the things. Well, for example, want to hire 100,000 new teachers. That's fine. I thought Mitt Romney's statement, where he spent $90 billion on green energy, half of them which have failed, you could hire 1 million teachers. I thought that was really, he was on, and the president had no response to that. And so, look, as you all have been talking, the vice presidential debate will be important. We have Joe, the gift that keeps on giving Biden. We've been burdened for the last 4 years. The middle class has been burdened the last 4 years. And that'll be an interesting one, because I know Paul Ryan, and he's quite a wonk, as you know. So it'll be very interesting to see those two contrasts. And one thing I know about this president is that he's good, and he's smart, and he's got good people around him. And I think you may see a very different president in the second debate.
Do debates matter?
I think Mitt tonight was on his game. In other words, he had a comeback. I mean, for example, on this issue of Dodd-Frank, they did exempt the major financial institutions in America, and on the others, they still haven't issued the regulations. So how could you say that Dodd-Frank was anything but a failure? And I know that most Americans don't know Dodd-Frank from, exactly what they're talking about. But so, look, I think people have good nights and bad nights. I certainly have had that experience. And the fact is that Mitt did very well tonight, and I think the president was a little bit surprised by him. You know what I mean?
So you think Obama will improve in the next debate, which is 2 weeks away?
Absolutely. I guarantee it. Look, this is a very smart man, the President of the United States, and he knows how to give a speech, and he knows, I can assure you, the next one, he will be far better prepared. I think he was a bit surprised. Frankly, I think all of us were surprised at how well Mitt did. Don't you think, Ben?
Yeah, you've debated Romney in the past, right?
I've debated Romney and I've debated Obama, and
I know.
I can tell you that Mitt was a lot better tonight than I had ever seen him. Megan, you watched them all. What do you think?
I thought he was. Oh, you guys did.
I agree, Dad.
Your daughter agrees. Do you think also?
That's the first time in a long time that my daughter agrees.
You don't always agree with her.
No, it's so funny. I don't know if I've ever actually been on air with my dad before.
This is a first.
Other than in a family interview about, being part of the McCain family. So, hi, Dad.
Now, I think Senator McCain has got it exactly right. Romney showed he was a lot smarter than people thought he was. I mean, I kept thinking, well, duh, he got a Harvard Law degree and a Harvard Business School degree and made a huge amount of money and was considered even by many Democrats the best governor Massachusetts has ever had. So something's going on there, and we saw some of that tonight. On the other hand, clearly Mr. Obama is a terribly smart, capable, and I thought remarkably conciliatory gentleman.
So you agree with John? You expect Obama to be better the next time?
Oh, I'm sure he'll be far more aggressive, but also still be polite. I think
Senator, do you agree with what Ben said earlier, that this was a very civil debate that made you proud to be an American?
I think it was. I think it was civil. I thought that a couple of Obama's zingers, and they were very polite, kind of fell flat because, you know, one thing about zingers is that you better have the right timing, otherwise they fall flat, you know. And so that's why I've always tried not to rehearse one of these, you know, quips, because a lot of times it looks so artificial. But yeah, look, not everybody, but the President of the United States is very likable. It's a great American success story. They like his wonderful wife and his children. So it's not a matter of likability. And I think that Romney understands that. You don't want to go after the President of the United States because Americans would be offended by that because they like the President. What I think Mitt was trying to say tonight, and I think he got it across, is that we can't pick 4 more years like the last 4 years. And that's why he kept throwing up these numbers about unemployment and people are not looking for work, et cetera, et cetera. And that's why I think he was very, very effective by throwing some of Obama's quotes back at him. You know, if he didn't cut the deficit in half, he shouldn't run for a second term, you know, that kind of stuff. And so I think that Obama was surprised. I think a lot of us were surprised. And the next debate, I will look forward, frankly, with more interest than I had in this one. What do you think, Ben?
I think it's going to be a killer debate next time, but I think they'll both still be very friendly and civil to one another, because I bet they both find that they get payoff from that. There's no payoff in being an assassin in these debates.
Senator, with your daughter, I guess you're very proud of her.
We don't need to make this about me.
I'm very proud of her, and
Thank you.
And I always pay close attention to her. And we have some very spirited conversations.
What did you think of her book, by the way?
That's enough.
What did you think of America, You Sexy Bitch?
That was a spirited conversation, Larry.
Senator,
I love you, Dad. Call you later.
Okay.
Senator, as always,
thanks, gang. And Larry, I love you, and one of the great memories I'll have that I'll take with me for the rest of my life is the wonderful times I had being on your show. You are one of the great men in American, I would say, providing and informing and the American people.
I'm humble.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, John. Senator John McCain of Arizona. By the way, don't forget to subscribe to youtube.com/OraTV. youtube.com/OraTV. You can do it right now. Another question from a college student.
This is Darby Larry from UCLA. Your question or comment?
When I was listening to Romney speak about the voucher plan, I found that it was really unrealistic and that it wasn't really going to work in our system. And I want to know if the panel feels differently or agrees with me. That was something that I found really.
Oh, was voucher one of his weak moments, Tanya?
I think so. I think that if you look at the state of American education, about which I don't purport to be an expert, but I was in the public school system for most of my life. I've got good friends who teach in it. I've got friends who actually still have kids in it. And I think that Mitt Romney's plan, one, is very sparse on details. Two, I think that he's been pretty consistent about not consulting one of the core constituencies in that partnership, namely teachers. You know, he was at a round table with some teachers. A teacher raised her hand to say something, and he said, "I didn't ask you a question." Well, I think that what he has not done is articulate how this voucher system is going to work and what do we do with the public school infrastructure that is there. It is one of the core parts of our democracy, is making sure that every American student...
He did praise the Secretary of Education.
He did, and now let's give some teeth to what our great public school infrastructure could be, but is not.
I'm not sure whether Darby... there were two references to vouchers tonight. One was vouchers for health care, and one was vouchers for education. Which one were you talking about? Yeah, that's what I thought.
I was talking about something else.
I thought it was health care, too.
No, I think health. Yeah, the question is all, and the devil's in the details, Darby. Because I mean, we'd have to know how big the vouchers would be and how big a typical insurance policy premium of the kind we would want would be. And obviously, if they're close to each other, then it could work out. Otherwise,
and I want to add, Larry, I think that was one of the president's best moments when he said, "Yeah, but if you're 54 or 55," when he added that point, that was an excellent moment for him.
David?
Larry, what's great about Twitter is that people can be funny, they can be irreverent, and they can just vent if they want. So we've got pundits and people at home who were watching. Ezra Klein tweeting tonight during the debate, Romney has been stylistically better than Obama. Obama's done a better job pinning Romney down on unpopular policies. Joey Parker tweeting tonight, Mitt Romney lives in La La Land, so unrelatable. And what the hell is the moderator doing? Moderate, buddy. A lot of tweets, Larry, about Jim Lehrer. Nicholas Kristof tweeting, please, Mr. President, passion. Don't treat the debate like a law school. I'm afraid you're going to discuss torts. Bill Maher, your friend Larry, tweeting tonight, that President Obama sure is smart, but I'm not sure if I'm going to take his class next semester. Monica Crowley, the Republican, tweeting, Romney totally comfortable and in command. Obama staring at his notes like a kid in science class who didn't study for the test. And finally, comedian Dennis Miller tweeting, Obama better hope a kicked ass is covered under Obamacare. A lot of fun tonight, some humor, but again, Larry, I got to tell you, it was really hard to find a liberal pundit who was really glowing about how the president did tonight. Most of them were kind of soft, thinking it wasn't his best performance.
I want to know if it is possible that Mr. Obama had a cold or the flu or something, because he did not seem to be quite as lively as he sometimes is. And I mean, politicians are human beings. They get colds. I remember very well when Mr. Nixon was campaigning in '60. He got a very, very bad cold that affected the campaign very, very much. I wonder if that's possible.
A lot of people were talking about his eyes, talking about he looked down the whole time, and Governor Romney was looking at him or the moderator, but the president never really focused a lot on the governor.
He needs clear eyes.
He needs clear eyes. There you go.
He missed a lot of opportunities. He was sticking to his script to the point that he wasn't as opportunistic. We talked about it before. I said, what the president has to do is not lose, and I think you could make the argument that he didn't, quote-unquote, lose, but he can't be so cautious that he gets beat up, and I think he was a little overly cautious.
But I did think stylistically with the camera, him looking down the entire time,
didn't work. But it wasn't like the smugness.
I don't think it was smug. I just don't think it seemed alpha to me, in the sense that Mitt Romney looking at the camera and looking at the audience.
The president, they're both clearly best when they're smiling, looking at the camera. Yeah. You're very right.
It's a very good lesson for everyone that's starting junior high school. Smile a lot.
Yeah. He was professorial.
Yeah,
professorial
he's
and
downright wonky.
I mean, it's one of the things that, I mean, was both a positive and a negative about the entire debate. I mean, it's a negative if you tend to yawn off at those things, but I actually thought that there was a lot of good policy exchanged on both sides, some of which I hadn't heard clarified before. I mean, look, it's a presidential debate. It's supposed to be a little wonky.
Yeah.
Well,
Michael,
but in the past, they often have.
I was like, I'd rather hear facts.
In the past, they have often not been wonky. So I kept saying two technocrats. Basically, we're not seeing two ideologues, we're seeing two technocrats. And to me, that's not a bad thing.
If I could defend Jim Lehrer for a second, because I think he's going to get beat up a lot. I actually thought him sort of removing himself from the debate worked beautifully. The fact that he wasn't making it at all about himself and was really just kind of there as an umpire to sort of keep people on time.
And they were keeping civil. If they were not getting civil, I think he would have stepped in.
So why are people angry at him, do you think?
Because I think he got Kanye'd. Because I think anytime a candidate can say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to listen to you, I'm going to continue what I'm saying. I mean, it looked great for the viewer. I enjoyed it, but I don't think...
You think Lehrer should have been more forceful?
I mean,
when they ran over
what's amazing is that that's even an issue, how the behavior of the moderator. It shows both sides did so well, and there was so little in the way of an overwhelming victory or defeat that we've got to even talk about the moderator. It shows it was pretty close to a tie, but I go back to saying what your people are saying, which is if even the liberals are not crowing about Obama, it shows something big happened tonight.
Yeah, Romney's plus was he certainly didn't lose.
Oh, he more than didn't lose. I mean, he
held his own.
You could imagine him being president, and you could imagine him trying to get things done, and you didn't think of him as just another one of the many, many, many people who have hundreds of millions of dollars in this country. He seemed like he really cared about America. I was very impressed at the way he got across. sorry, that even though he's terribly, terribly rich, he really seemed to care, and he seemed to be emotional about people suffering in the recession.
I wouldn't go that far.
You're saying he's a better actor than we give him credit for.
I didn't see that empathy.
He will have to be more specific.
I do. When he was talking about the Constitution and his role in government, I was very moved. And I'm not just saying that.
You know, Megan just whispered to me that I looked frustrated, but I'm not. But what you're seeing on my face is I think that there is this dynamic that takes place when you start dissecting these campaigns. And yes, I am going to vote for Barack Obama. I think he will be a far better president than Mitt Romney. But I feel like there's this tendency, both, you know, in the social media space, for somebody like me, if I'm like, oh, you know, Mitt Romney actually did a good job today, they're like, oh my God, Obama lost the debate because the liberals aren't saying that Mitt Romney screwed up. You know, I'm allowed to think that the guy acquitted himself admirably.
But do you know how hard it is to get a liberal to say anything nice about Mitt Romney? I mean, anything at all. So the fact that they're not just pounding all over him
it's hard to
a big
has the Tea Party ever said anything nice about the president?
There are a lot of Republicans that can say nice things about.
I agree, Republicans.
20%
Your father was
Republicans
very
say
kind
nice things about Mr. Obama all the time.
But this actually goes back to the point I was making earlier, which was not about Megan's vagina, but about where the Republican Party.
The role of women.
No, I get it. But so one of the things that I thought was great in the last election was when your father stood up in front of all of those folks. You know, that one woman who called Obama. I think she said he's a Muslim and he hates the country. And I will.
Cut her off.
He cut her off. I respected John McCain before that moment. I respected him even more then because that was a Republican leader saying, hey, step down. You know, we're not going down that road.
How about tonight? He expects the president to be tougher the next time.
And again, here's even more examples of civility in the United States of America. This is just a wonderful thing that happened tonight. I hope it continues. I hope it continues. I think that by itself can help pull us out of the recession, is that spirit of togetherness and trusting one another.
You know, Ben, last time one of the last times we were here, you were expressing some frustration to me about Governor Romney's lack of specificity on some of his programs. Do you feel that you got more of that tonight?
I think we got some more of it. I think we should have gotten more of it, but I think there's a big reason why he can't give us more of it is that he doesn't have more of it. There is no easy way to create 12 million more jobs unless we declare war on Canada and then we put 12 million people in uniform. I don't think we're going to do that. We love Canada. We love every bit of Canada.
How about Mexico?
No, we love Mexico is great. We love Mexico.
We love Mexico. How about Nicaragua?
Chile. But anyway, I think that he does need to be more specific, but he can't be, and neither can Mr. Obama be. He didn't say why it's going to work in the next 4 years if it didn't work in the last 4 years. He's in a very deep hole. I have to say, when Mr. Obama said, I inherited such a deep hole that's very, very hard to dig my way out of it in 3.5 years, he's not lying. It's absolutely true. It's totally true. And when Mr. Romney says, I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to work at it all the time, and he might have added, and I've never failed at anything I started, that is also a very good point. I mean, this is a guy who has got success all over him. Everything he's ever done has been a success.
Do you think Michael Obama should have reverted more to the Clinton tactic of arithmetic?
Think the president lost an opportunity, and I was hoping that he would continue to drill into the governor for specifics. Give me specifics. I hear you saying this. What deductions? What loopholes? And I feel like Jim Lehrer actually sort of pivoted to Obama at one point and said, and it's sort of leading him towards that question. And for whatever reason, he didn't take that opportunity. I wish he had, because I do think the governor is trying very hard to put forth a plan, and he's got these sort of pie-in-the-sky projections, but the crust is not fully cooked, and I want to hear more.
Politicians make pie-in-the-sky predictions. I look at the predictions Mr. Obama made about cutting the deficit in half and reducing unemployment drastically. That's what politicians do, and they never are that specific. It's an interesting thing. I go back to my Nazi documentaries I'm endlessly watching. There's nothing else good on TV. I have to watch my DVDs over and over again.
That's why you have to watch the internet.
And I see that people, that Hitler said, I'm not going to make specific promises. You just have to trust me. So this is, I will promise.
Did you just compare
Romney with Hitler?
I'm saying all politicians, even the worst and the best, the most evil and the most wonderful, can never be pinned down about exact details.
But when you're making these kinds of very overreaching tax policy promises, I'm going to cut your rates 20%, which is what he's been saying, you have to be able to back that up with something.
But he just said he wasn't going to do that. And also,
I understand what he said tonight.
Mr. Obama said, I'm going to cut the deficit in half. You have to back that up with something. He said, we're going to double exports. You have to back that up with something. He said, we're going to keep unemployment below 8%. You have to back that up with something. Politicians of all stripes, from wonderful ones like the one we were watching tonight to the ones who are pure evil, are often very vague.
I will say that Obama did try twice. Early on, he said Romney's big, bold idea was never mind, quote unquote.
That was a good line. That was a good line.
And the other good line he had is Romney trying to keep his plans secret because they're so good, right. Which was a good line. I was reading what a lot of people were tweeting and sending me as this was going on, and they characterized the debate this way. Obama, here are my ideas and details. Romney, I'm going to repeal your ideas, but I'm not telling you mine. And I think I still feel a lot of that.
But Romney came across as, at least to me, now this may be because I started liking him, but he came across as a super likable guy who was not at all radical.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Did he seem at all radical? I mean, like if you see some really fire-eating person from the Tea Party at a rally on TV, and then you compare that with Romney, he's not even remotely in that.
No,
no, but that's the same idea. The ideas that he supports and the platform he supports, which is a federal gay marriage amendment, repealing Roe v. Wade. These are radical ideas, and he did not.
Well, I must have been eating a piece of pizza or something when that happened. I didn't even hear that part.
No, he didn't talk about that, but I'm saying these issues still remain.
The thing I would say in terms of whether or not Governor Romney is or is not a rabid right-winger, I think in his heart he is not. But what troubles me, and this is the point I was going to earlier, is that rather than standing in front of a crowd of rabid right-wingers and saying, as Senator McCain did, this man is an American who loves his country and is a good Christian, he stands in front of a crowd of rabid right-wingers and tells birth certificate jokes.
Oh, that was a joke.
No, but wait,
said it was a joke.
It's actually not so much of a joke. But let me finish. When 20% of the Republican Party still thinks that Barack Obama is not an American or a Muslim or doesn't have a birth certificate, I think it's a troubling joke.
So now all the Republicans are not jokes.
Your father was very kind about the president tonight, and very fair, as he always has been.
I think Mitt Romney is fair as well. I mean, I don't agree with everything he says. I think you guys are giving way too much credit to the Tea Party. I think it was a movement that sort of sprung up a few years ago.
But don't you think it represents about 20% of the party? Maybe 25?
20 is pushing it.
I don't know, but there's some extremely, extremely aggressive elements within the Democratic Party.
But we don't give them much attention.
Oh, the hell you don't.
We don't give them so much attention.
They were all over the convention. They were all over the convention. What about Elizabeth Warren saying corporations don't have a heart?
Elizabeth Warren and Jennifer
Let me say what's going to happen.
I'm just saying they're also giving a platform at the DNC.
Let me say what's going to happen. There's the macro level. There's the debate. Romney acquitted himself very well. On the micro level, on the ground game, when people are calling women, when people from the Obama camp are calling women, they're going to say, do you want to lose? Do you want Roe v. Wade overturned? They're going to call
and there's a lot of Catholic pro-life women in this country.
And
I understand there's a lot of different people, but I'm just saying they're going to use this. They're going to use the platform. They're going to use the ideas that Romney has endorsed against them.
One of the things I have been combating for months, my time span right now is up, but I believe a few months now, is Todd Akin. Listen, I'm not admitting that this hasn't done a lot of damage, especially with young women. But I'm saying when it comes down to it, I think the economy will be the overriding issue that people will go into.
Let's go back over to David Begnaud.
Larry, let's talk conversation topics. Of the serious issues being tweeted tonight from the start of the debate, get a look at this. Education, 6,000 tweets since the debate started. More people talking about that in relation to the candidates than anything else. Economy coming in second. Health is third, followed by the environment, taxes, and the middle class. But once again, education, we saw a lot of tweets about student loans and teachers, more jobs for teachers. Also want to remind your viewers, Larry, you can subscribe to our YouTube page. You can't miss it. At the very far left, we've got the big orange button. Go and click on it, and you can see your interview with Megan and Bill Maher and with the governor, who you interviewed today.
The governor of, former governor of New Mexico.
Indeed.
The Libertarian candidate. I'm surprised that taxes was low on that.
Low on this debate, surprising, especially since it was about domestic policy, but we may see more. We also polled our very small audience from UCLA, Larry, about what they thought of the debate tonight. The majority of the students here, political science students, thought the governor won tonight. Elizabeth was one of those that thought the governor won. And you have a question for the panel.
Yeah, I think the overall consensus was that Mitt Romney did a really good job tonight, and I think that was surprising to a lot of people, including myself. So I'm just wondering if you all think that he has the capability to continue to compete with a man who's already established himself as a really good public speaker.
Absolutely. There's no question that the governor has gone through 6 years of running for president, and all of that experience, that debate experience, it came to the fore tonight. He's a very good debater. He was very good in the primaries towards the end, especially. He's a good student. He presents his arguments well. He's a very, very bright guy. And what this debate illuminated more than anything else wasn't so much the qualifications of either guy, so much as Megan said, it really was about the sharp delineations between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. All of that, I think, is actually very good for discourse in this country.
Well, all in all, a good night for Romney, the president, and for America, and for the country. The next debate is the vice presidential debate. It's a week from tomorrow night. We'll be on following that debate, and then the next following two presidential debates are the 2 weeks after that. I thank you all very much. I thank our students as well from UCLA for their participation. I thank David as well. We'll be back with you on Ora TV tomorrow night, when our guest will continue to be Governor Johnson, the former governor, part 2 of New Mexico, the candidate of the Libertarian Party. And we'll be back a week from Thursday night right here on YouTube with our follow-up to the vice presidential debate. On behalf of our panel, our students, and everybody involved with this, we thank you, and we bid you a pleasant good evening.